Hello friends, you're most welcome to this part 2 of our training on tips for academic success in university and of course in any other higher institution where you may find yourself. Once again, I remain your facilitator, Makwachukwu Jide, okay? Nice. For those of you who missed part 1, I encourage you to look for part 1 video and watch it. It's very, very important. Here we'll be looking at examination tips, other important tips, students and relationship, and then tips for successful life as a whole. Okay, as matters arising from part 1, I want to say it's very, very important that you register for all courses required of you, especially your compulsory courses. And for every course you register, you must pass that course before graduation. Okay, and then it's also important to know that the CGPA we calculated is approximated to 2 decimal places. And I remember we just did how to calculate only first semester of first year. Okay, so I may want to quickly show you what happens to a final year student for that particular program. Now, this is what we calculated. Remember, we did the unit A is 5, and then B is 4, and C is 3, and all of that. F is 0. Okay, now to calculate it, we did unit times point, giving us the total, and then we sum the total to give us this 100, and then we sum the units to give us 22. And what we did was to say this particular 100 divided by 22, it gives us the graduating CGPA 4.54. Of course, this is approximately 4.55, and this is first class, and that is what I wish you. This is only for first semester. Now this student has done first year to final year, and this is what the course looks like. He studied economics first semester first year, second semester second year, and then first semester second year, first semester second semester second year, and then we have the first semester third year, second semester third year, okay, and then first semester fourth year, and second semester fourth year. That's the end of his program. And so the total CGPA point is 760, and the unit courses he offered is 173. So how do we calculate the CGPA? That is cumulative. It cumulates over time. Is to say the total point divided by the total units, and that gives us 4.39. 4.39 places the students at 4.39 places the students at second class upper. And sincerely, I want to encourage you to make sure you don't live with anything less than second class upper. It's a good grade to get, 4.39. But this candidate could have as well make first class if things are done properly. And what are those things? Watch out for the points where I highlighted in red here. Assuming he has a point ahead, like this 4, he scored 5. This 3, he scored 4. This 3, he scored 4. This 3, he scored 4. Okay, this 4, he scored 5. He scored 5 here. Whereas, here he scored 5 instead of 4. That is A instead of B. And then, is that all? Okay, like here he scored 5 again. Any other one? Oh, beautiful. There's another one here. Let's assume he scored 4. That's B. And that has brought him to 4.497. 4.497. Because it's 2 decimal places, it will automatically become 4.7 approximated. We add up to 9, and that will be 0, and that will give us 50. So these candidates will live with first class. And that is to show you how important every course you do, it matters. Therefore, I want to encourage you to do your best to make sure that every course you study, every course you offer, you give it your very, very best. Because each of them matter for you to succeed well. Okay? Beautiful. Now, other things you need to know is that it's important to identify your strengths as a student. Find out what works for you. It is in human nature to try to correct weakness. You say, others are reading in the night. I can't read in the night. Why not find the best time you can read and study? Knowing your strength and using it effectively may be more important for your success than trying to correct your weakness. For me, I discovered that in school, I couldn't read at night. If I sleep and wake up, it was difficult for me to read. So I would prefer to sit awake and do all I needed to read before I sleep. Of course, my roommates, I had friends who will say, wake me up by 2, wake me up by 3, wake me up by 1. So I can read from 9 o'clock till that 12 or 1 or 2 before sleeping. But if I won't sleep to wake up, I become almost useless academically. But for them, it was working for them. So I decided to use what worked for me. And it was a huge success. Again, try to make a study plan that works for you. It's very, very important you make such work plan that works for you. Exam tips. Now, please listen very important to this, good attention to these particular tips. It's important you read to acquire knowledge. Yes, long before exam is around the corner, read all the materials you can read. That will help you prepare for exam. That will help you acquire the knowledge you need. Remember when we were starting, we mentioned 3 good skills you need to succeed in the university, especially after university. 1, you needed knowledge. 2, you needed skill. 3, you needed a correct mindset for success. Okay, so read well to acquire knowledge. But once exam is around the corner, there is a way to read for exam. Read as though you are the lecturer setting this exam. Ask yourself, if I were to set this question, what questions will I ask my students? And then make sure you have answer to those questions. Okay, if possible, join study groups. And then every study group may not matter for you, but find which fits you. Like I mentioned earlier, or if I didn't, I studied statistics economics at University of Nigeria in Soka. And then I discovered that in statistics I hustle it. In economics I had advantage. So I found out groups. My friends in statistics, I could do group discussion with. I learned a lot from them. My association with them, my studying with them helped me to succeed in statistics. Coming to economics, I had friends who were weak. I was the one leading the group, and I led the group, and I bet you, if the more you share knowledge, what you have, the more you internalize it. If you want to hoard the knowledge you have, you may be surprised you will lose it. But the more you share this knowledge, your friends who are studying, it helps you to prepare more, and you will not easily forget what you have read. Very importantly, please, review past question paper where possible. In fact, I would rather put it as much as possible, try to see the past question paper for each of the courses you will write. That's a secret you need to know. Each of them, find out the past question paper. Now, let me tell you something as a lecturer. Many of us, in many of the universities, when your lecturer has finished an examination and have marked the script and is returning the script to the department and all of that, they are required to prepare and submit what is called a marking guide. That marking guide, is prepared, and that guides the lecturer in marking that script. Now, for somebody who has taught about 5 years, a particular course in a space of 5 years, 4 years, 10 years, in most cases, what they do is to reshuffle questions. Even JAM does this. For those of you who did JAM very well, you would have discovered that some questions were repeated before in your revision, and you see it in your own exam. So what they may pick question number 1, a particular year, number 3, a particular year, number 4, a particular year, number 2, and join them together, and then they're able to pull together the marking guide. It becomes a new question. So I encourage you to make sure you see past question paper before you write any exam. If possible, consecutively or around that 3 years before any exam. I had this exam I wrote. It was quite a tough one. The history in the department, a lot of people were failing that course, multivariate analysis. And I decided that I was going to pass it. I called some of my friends, we sat down and we solved past question papers for about 3 years together. And then I began to make sure I knew how to do those proofs, to do those questions. And then during the exam, surprisingly, 2 of the questions came out verbatim. The way we solved it, they came out. I quickly wrote those 2, bowed my head and said, God, thank you, because I know I have passed this exam. Each of those questions were carrying 20 marks. And this exam that people will fail 70% F, 60% F in a session. But by God's grace, I got C in that course. And I think we're two that made see that particular session. So I want to encourage you to make sure you see those past question papers. If you prepare for that and you need them, look for friends that are ahead of you. Look for them, friends that are ahead of you, as they are writing exam this semester. Don't wait until when you enter that session before you start looking for the past question paper. If they are writing exam this semester, collect their question papers and photocopy. Pack them. This is first semester, for instance, if you are doing first semester, and then you will need it first semester of your second year. If you wait until second semester of your first year, those papers would have traveled home with their friends. So collect it, photocopy it, invest in that area. And if you do, I bet you it will go a long way in helping you make sure you pass. Okay? Now, there's this, my friend. What he was doing is simple. Aside, because we wrote exam, he studied pharmacy in UNN, and then we wrote exam. We were in the same Christian fellowship, Scripture Union Campus Fellowship, and he was our evangelism secretary. By the way, I was the president by God's grace. He came out in maybe second semester to share a testimony with us. Brethren, praise the Lord. I wrote 9 courses and I scored 9 A's. Wow! After the fellowship, I called the young man aside and said, look, friend, 2 of us pray this prayer. So if making A's is just a function of prayers alone, I should have had as much A as you have. Tell me, it seems that there's something you know I don't know. What is it that is your secret of success? He smiled. And he told me that it's simple. That before he writes any exam, it was common then to give us handouts. He will read each of the handouts, the study material. He will read each of them 20 times. And to do it, he starts long before exam. 20 times. Before writing anyone, I was like, are you serious? Are you kidding me? He said, look, I'm a Christian. I can't lie to you. And that was the secret of this guy's success. He reads over and over. Some of you complain that you have short memory. You don't have any short memory. The more you read a particular thing, the more you internalize it. Many of you who are Christians, if I ask you John chapter 3, verse 16, you quickly tell me, for God so loved the world, blah, 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 blah. You are able to quickly recite it without thinking because you have said it over and over and over. So do the same for each course you are offering. Look, even if it's issue coconut head, and that guy has read 20 times, he will not just be struggling to pass, he will be struggling to maximize his point. And that is the point I'm making here. Learn to read. It will make you, it calls for discipline. Learn to sit down, time yourself. I'm not getting out from this seat in the next 2 hours, 3 hours, or 4 hours. Begin to read. And then I tried it. The maximum I could read for all my courses for a particular one was 9 times. And that 9 times, it was like the best course I ever wrote in the university. What I did was simple. I prepared something that looks like this kind of chart. And then each of the courses, I try to get the material. What I also do is to get to colleagues who are ahead of you, collect their materials. Some of you are so lucky that you have textbooks to read. Some of those textbooks are not so voluminous. You can see the course content and read them over and over. So each one I finish reading, like a 101, I'll come and tick one good. I had a small paper with me in my bag where I tick how many times I've read a particular course. That was what I was doing. And so each time I look at this kind of chart, I'll quickly tell myself, CSC 101, I have not read it, so exam is around the corner. I know I am weak there. Even though I may not be enjoying the course, because I need to tick good, I'll come and read it like a bitter pill. I'll read it for reading's sake. And I discovered that the first time I read each course, it may not make so much sense. Second time, it will begin to make sense. Third time, fourth time, fifth time, you begin to appreciate some of those things you didn't understand the first time. Now, I've read maybe Boss 101 only once, Po 101 only once. I will know that I am weak here. I'll begin to put more effort to read them over and over. I know that Sociology 101, I've read it up to 7 times. That may be my best course. So I'm already preparing for an A there. But for others, I'll try to pull them up. So that's very, very important, okay, that you prepare this kind of charts. Are you going to prepare it? Let me ask you. If you do, you will appreciate me by the time you are graduating, that this chart helps you. It will help to call your attention for discipline. It will help to install discipline on you because you have a target. And when you have a target, it drives you. If you don't have a target and you think you just be reading randomly, you will be getting random results. And sometimes you'll be so shocked with the kind of results you'll get. Okay, so these are key things you need to do that will go a long way helping you. Tips for exam: when you are also asked to write any exam, review past question paper, we have mentioned it, and then start writing your exam, by reading instruction. I prefer you read all the questions if it is not objective. If it is question that has to do with theory, 5 questions to answer 3, or 7 to answer 4, try to read all the questions first. Look at the instruction. There was this interview. Some people came for interview, about 200 persons or so came for an interview, and they were given 4 questions to answer in 10 minutes. And then they were asked to start. All of them wrote quickly. And there, the man marked the script. And surprisingly, he told them only one person passed this question, this course. And they were surprised. He asked them to look at the instruction. The instruction was given 4 questions, answer only question 1. Many of them answered 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 3, 4, 5. Plenty things. As soon as you have failed the instruction, you have failed. They wanted to know people who are detailed. And that was how the person who passed it got the job. So budget your line. Leave time to review what you have read so that if there are terms, grammatical error, you can correct them. Okay? If not stated otherwise, start writing from the question you know best. It gives you advantage. It builds your morale. Don't just start struggling. If they say question number 1 compulsory and you don't know number 1, start from the question you know best. By the time you are finishing that, other inspirations will come. And as much as possible, and that is why this is what the marking, the script looks like. This is a column for the lecturer. Sometimes there's a column somewhere where you put the questions you've answered, but this is like somebody's script. So this candidate didn't know number 1. Number 1 is compulsory, for instance. You see he scored 5 over whatever is the point there. Okay, but they started writing from number 3 that he feel he knows better. And by the time he was done with number 3, inspiration came for number 5, and then number 1 came last. Some of them we put their mid-semester grade and then coursework there, and that gives you the total. This candidate should be getting like E in this course. Okay, it's called 43. Now look at this other one. Number 1 was a good one. Number 3 is not very good at number 3, or maybe time choked him, but he gave all the time in number. Maybe this number 1 is over 30. He gave all the time in number 1 and gave it the best. That gave him that push. Number 5, he gave it also a very strong time, and then with the mid-semester. So don't play with your tests or the coursework. Don't play with them. And then that landed him in 73. And they're in the same class. Already there is a difference between these 2 candidates. Somebody is going for first class. Somebody is struggling with third class. But that is not your portion. Okay, so try to review your questions. Try to review what you have written before you submit. And I want to sound it as a very strong warning. Avoid all form of malpractices in exam. In the school where I lecture, if you are caught, you face panel, the panel convicts you, you will be expelled or given suspension for a semester, second semester, all of that. Please try to avoid that as much as possible. Okay? Now, other important things you need to know. Be able to manage your time. If you are not a good manager of your time, by spelling out the things you want to do, you will be busy doing nothing. Also, learn to manage your finance. For those of you who have got the experience, once your finance is affected, it may affect your concentration. So manage your finance in a way that you don't run so dry or it doesn't get you into trouble. And then manage your emotion. You see some people, they will stay in their room, you think they are meditating on a particular course they have studied. They are just worried. Why did this guy do this to me? Why did this lady treat me this way? And if you are not careful, emotional imbalance can destabilize your academic success. Another important thing you need to know is to stay healthy. Staying healthy or living healthy requires that you take good sleep, quality sleep. They advise that we take about 7 to 8 hours per night. But even if you don't get it at once, make sure you try to make it up at certain point. Regular exercise is also very, very good. Drink a lot of water so that you don't get dehydrated, and eat healthy diet, not just junks. I'm tempted to mention some food products here, but I don't want any company to say I'm demarketing them. But don't eat just junks. Eat good food, quality food. Yeah. They taught you about balanced diet. Try to eat things that at the end of the day you're a bit stable, because what you eat affects your growth, affects your thinking, affects who you are. Okay. Now it's also important that you learn this issue of resilience. Even when a very good plan is made, obstacles will still arise. Sometimes you think your plan is so perfect, but sometimes those obstacles will come, and the way you handle them will determine whether you succeed as a student or not. Learn to handle failure with a positive mindset. Okay? With I can do it spirit. You don't give up on anything. I want to say it here that you one fails a course does not mean that you're a failure. You write 8 courses, you failed 1 or 2, does not mean that you're a failure. It may just mean that you didn't learn certain things you need to learn. Failing a course doesn't mean you're a failure. You are not a failure. You're a success in the making. You will be celebrated, I bet you. You will be celebrated. So don't give up. I had this terrible case I managed. One guy entered medicine and surgery in a particular school. And then in that school, if you fail one course at first year, you will repeat first year in medicine. That young man scored a lot of A's in his first year. But unfortunately, physics something, he had F. That thing got him depressed. He was in the school hostel. The following session, he did not repeat first year. He was mourning his failure. And then his class moved to second year. It was when they were to move to third year, first semester, that he was now beginning to beg to return back to second semester. And unfortunately, it couldn't be handled. The school said he had done voluntary withdrawal, and that was how he lost that admission. Please don't allow your failure in a course to kill your destiny or your future. You have all it takes to succeed, and you will succeed. Now, I want to say very importantly, in terms of students and relationship, university is a very good environment to strengthen your social life. Learn to relate well, learn to associate well. Learn to maintain your godly or noble values. Those values you came with in your family. While you strive to live at peace with people with their different views, as much as it depends on you, try to live at peace with everyone, but do not betray, do not push aside your godly values. Hold them tenaciously while you tolerate others the way they do. And then in terms of opposite sex relationship, if you get into boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, sometimes it can be so devastating and so destabilizing. And that is why I encourage my friends to try to socialize but don't specialize. What do I mean by that? I'm a guy, for instance. I try to make all the ladies around to be my friend, and I don't make any of them become so special to a point where any little behavior from her will affect me. So everybody is my friend, but nobody has become so special in my pocket. Nobody becomes the only sugar in my tea. Nobody becomes the only cockroach in my cupboard. Nobody becomes the only 10 naira in my pocket. If I have plenty 10 naira, I can spend them without the thing affecting my emotions. So specialize, socialize, and don't specialize in relationship. It will go a long way helping you. Be wise like serpents. Everybody cannot be so trusted. People are so untrusted and complicated. Yeah, you may need to trust some friends to survive. But be careful in releasing your trust on anybody you see. You may not know what is driving them. Let righteousness and godliness guide your relationship and interaction with people around you. Develop trust. Let people be able to trust you. That may be your major social capital. Something that can sustain you when there is challenge. It's important you maintain. People should be able to trust you, those who are around you. And then for some people, they may need to do business to survive as students. Maybe you are coming from a family challenge financially. Don't begin to blame them. I've got friends who nobody sponsored in the university. They stayed strong for themselves, find small businesses to be doing, and then that was able to carry them through. A very, very illustrious, industrious student of mine. You know, she didn't have any sponsorship, but she determined that she would not mess up her life, yet found a small business she was doing until graduation. So student entrepreneurship is someone who combines enrollment to educational institution with building his or her own business. I have a guy who is doing that also. And he's doing so well. He's the course rep of their class. He has, what do you call it? Laundry business. He does laundry for lecturers, for students. He delivers, and yet he's studying. And this is an example to follow. Now, it's a very challenging thing to do, but it comes with a lot of advantage. And finally, I want to say that it's very, very important that you maintain what I call a balanced life. And I summarize it with what I call CAG. CAG has a lot to do with your confidence. As much as possible, maintain your confidence. University is structured in a way to challenge your confidence from day one, making you feel you don't know anything. Comes from the lecturers, come from the non-lecturers, come from your friends, come from frustrations you may face in school. But your ability to maintain that self-confidence may matter better, more than your certificates. Self-confidence is very, very important. Then your association, the association you make also matters a lot in your life. Associate with the right kind of persons, so that it will go, because that goes a long way telling who you are. Then respect yourself, respect others, respect the school authority, respect God, of course, and then determine that whatever happens, you will not give up. Determination is key to success, they tell us. Even if you fail or get rejected, don't give up. Determine to push on. And then the other important thing is the G factor. Call it the God factor. Grace is very, very important, I bet you. For me, grace saw me through, and many friends of mine can also testify how much grace have seen them through. Young friends that have entered university learn to lean on grace. There is this grace God gives to those who seek Him. Seek Him and ask Him for that grace. Grace for success. Sometimes you may not be qualified for certain things, but grace will see you through. So ask for that grace. A very senior friend of mine, a one-time vice chancellor of a university, said clearly to us that we cannot train students in vacuum. We need to connect them to God. Okay, so I want to encourage you to do as much as possible. Get connected to God. As an undergraduate in the University of Nigeria and Nsukka, I was a member of Scripture Union Campus Fellowship, SUCF, and we served God and served humanity. There are many other Christian organizations around. If you're a Christian, associate with one. Okay, if you're not a Christian, whatever is your religion, try to make sure you lean on the grace of God. That grace is able to see you through. Okay? For those of you who are still on campus, we still have SUCF, by the way. In case you want to join them, it's a very good place to join. Thank you very much for joining us in this meeting. And I want to believe that God will see you through. This success you are seeking, you will find it. You will not be a failure. You will be a huge success. Your parents will celebrate you. The community will celebrate you. Your generation will celebrate you. It is well with you. Thank you very much. Cheers.